Okay, as promised, here is my explanation video for how I added book editing. So previously over November we did the users. I then created this book GUI. It's very straightforward. I'm going to do a completely new edit window at the end of this video, so stick around for that if that's all you're looking for. So I've created this thing called a table over here, and a table basically contains rows of information. We'll get onto that a little bit later, and then a straightforward back button, which I actually did not make work. So all that happens is the login GUI, when you click on login, okay, it does the checking, and we've done that, opens the main menu GUI. The main menu GUI, if I click on the view books button over here, it creates the book GUI, which is what I've created over here. It passes the user as a parameter. That's just so we know who's logged on. Because you might want to only allow admins to edit or whatever. Makes the book GUI visible and then disposes the current window. So if you have a look at the book GUI, so first off we've got this thing called the table. Okay, here's the parameter where we're taking the user in, gets stored over there, and then the final thing, whenever you add a parameter to your constructor, there's always this main method that NetBeans adds automatically that will allow you to run your thing. In this case, all I've done is I've just made the user null. If I'm doing anything with the user, that would make my program crash, but the idea is we never actually call this method here, because we always go through via the login GUI, which then creates our main menu GUI, which then creates our book GUI and sets it visible. So, and here we're passing an actual user. Just a quick tip for everyone. I got really tired of having to type in the username and password, so what I did is I've made it automatically type in my username and password. Before I submitted my project, to hand it in, I would just disable it, and I've also made the login button selected by default. You can see it's got that blue highlighted selected. So if I push spacebar, it literally just auto select itself, and then I can click on the view thing over here. As I said, the back button doesn't do anything. Edit does work though. If I changed this author to nobody, if I leave it like this, it won't actually work. Just push enter and then click edit. What's happening is it's editing the selected one. Click edit. It does that. I just add a little printout here because it wasn't working originally. Close that. If I run it again, you'll see over there that the author has been successfully edited. Right, so let's go take a look at what we've done. So the first thing that I've done is I created a whole bunch of back-end things. So first off, we've got a book. It's got a title, author, number of pages, hardcover. You'll have decided already what data you need and don't need. I've just done a straightforward ordinary constructor and X setters and getters. You might want to do something more exciting. I can't think of anything here as an example, but you do want to add more to your code than just straightforward. Even if I suppose just at the beginning you just get it to do basic view, edit, update, delete, then we can do something slightly more exciting when you get back. If you've got the main stuff working, that's good. Then I created a book manager. A book manager has got an array and size. The key thing that I did is I made my array and my size static, and the reason for that is I now don't need to create a book manager object and then sort of pass that around or call it or anything. I can literally just do it by off the class, kind of like when you do math.rand, whatever. You've never created a math object. So I've created this method called loadbooks. The one thing I do need to do is I, as the programmer, need to make sure that loadbooks is always going to be called before anything else happens. You might actually want to just put that in your main menu GUI as soon as the user logs in. Maybe you call book manager load books, and or whatever else you had. I might have some like patrons, patrons dot load patrons or whatever it is. So there we go. So I call load books. This is very straightforward. So it's setting size to 0. The reason for that is because this isn't a constructor. So it's not like we're creating a new book manager each time. So each time we created it, the size would be 0. It just gets set to 0 the first time, the first time the program is run. And then, so if I just kept calling load books, because I'm incrementing size would just keep increasing. And that would be an issue. So I'm setting size to 0 at the beginning. Straightforward scanner. We've done this a million times. Just for fun, instead of creating a scanner to scan the line, I used this .split method. What .split does is it will take the whole line and it'll put it into a string array. And then I've got 4 things in books.txt. Well, 4 fields. So I've got title, author, number of pages, and then whether it's hardcover or not. Okay, and then I'm just calling .split. The first element is the title, second element is the author, third title is number of pages, and then the fourth title for the fourth element is whether it's hardcover or not. I was going to say something here. Oh yeah, so you could have just created a scanner as normal and done that. Creating a new object and then incrementing size, adding it to the array. Straightforward, you've done it a million times. I do recommend for your file not found exception, just be a little bit more specific. So could not find books.txt, you're going to have multiple files. If it just says error file not found, you might spend ages looking at code for the wrong file. And then also print the stack trace, that'll help get around that. I've created a get size. The reason for that is because we're eventually going to want to get all of the things in this array, and we don't know how many are actually in there because we just made it 100, so it's big enough to hold everything. But maybe in this text file I've only loaded 20. Hopefully I've only loaded 20, given that there's a blank line there. Blank lines can make things go weird, so let's just get rid of the blank line. When I'm loading it, I'll know that I need to load 20 books. And then I've created this method getBookAt, so it'll just give me a full book at a specific position. And then over here, this is for the editing, which we'll worry about later. And this is writing to file, which we'll worry about later. So anyway, we load books, straightforward. Let's see what happens with the table. Okay, so I load the books. I'm now getting how many rows I have. So a table has got this thing called a model, and a model you can basically think it's almost like a 2D grid in memory that basically stores the entire contents. The first thing I'm doing is I'm setting the row count to 0, just to make sure that if there's anything already in the table, I just clear it, so it'll only load exactly what books we have. So I'm just doing a for loop going up to number of rows, and this is really the only reason why I need that get size, so I know how many times to do this loop thing. What I decided is that I wanted to either print hardcover or softcover instead of displaying true or false. I just thought that would look nicer. So all I've done is I've created a string for hardcover, and then this might be a little bit confusing, but anyway, so it's book manager, so I'm using my class. I'm using getBookAtI, so it's going to get at 0. It's going to get the first book in the array. Then later on, after I've done the for loop, I will become 1. It'll get the second book, and then so on and so on. And then I'm just calling the isHardcover method. So book manager is getBookAt is returning a book, which is one of these things, and then I'm just calling the isHardcover method. I auto added these. You might have called it, getHardcover. But it's the same thing. I'm at Bookkeeper. Okay, and then if hardcover, so if it's true, and I don't need to go over, I could type equals true, but essentially an if statement just returns true or false, and is hardcover returns true or false. So it's either, is hardcover gives me true, or it gives me false. So I don't need to go equals true. If it makes you feel happier, put it in. No one will judge you for that. And there we go. And then we need an object array. Object is the most basic class that there is. So, don't panic about it too much. And then all I'm doing is I'm creating an array over here. Open squiggly bracket, close squiggly bracket. Those are the bounds of the array. And then it's literally just get the current title, get the current author, get number of pages, and then I would have put bookmanager.getBookAti.isHardcover, but that would just give me true or false. So I'm using my hardcover string here, which is just then hardcover or softcover, and then I'm adding it to the model. And straightforward, that's how you put stuff into a table. Right, let's take a look at editing. So I am going to do a completely new edit thing, but let's just look at what I'm currently doing. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm getting the selected row. This is going to be a little bit of an issue. You'll see if I run this, and this is why I'm going to do a new edit thing. Let's say I change this author to, let's make it me, Matthew Gill, and then I select this one and I click edit. You'll see it's actually not going to keep that change of Matthew Gill. You can see it over there, still nobody. Close it, run it again. Open up, has not changed the author. Okay, but anyway, so I'm getting this selected row, and then what I'm doing is I am reading in the title, the author, the number of pages, and the hardcover from the actual GUI, and that's because I don't know what fields have been edited, and I'm using that by I've got the row, okay, and then I'm calling this method getValueAt. So TVL Books is the table, and I'm sending in the row, the selected row, and then 0 is the first column, which was title, then 1 is the author, then 2 is number of pages, 3 is whether it was hardcover or not. This is a little bit irritating. So in the text file, obviously it's showing me true or false. Honestly, given that I want hardcover and softcover, I should probably have distorted it as hardcover, softcover, but I didn't. Because over here I've changed my hardcover, softcover to true and false. Sorry, my true and false hardcover and softcover. I need to undo that when I'm going back to file. So I'm reading it in as a string, and then the Boolean just basically says, does my string equal hardcover? If my string equals hardcover, this will be true. If my string doesn't equal hardcover, that will be false. And then I'm calling edit book with title, title, author, number, pages, hardcover. And one of the reasons why I'm redoing this is because what I do now is I now search for that specific title in the array. You'll see it in a second. And then I edit there, which means I can't actually change the title, because if I changed the title and I searched the array for the book with that title, I wouldn't find it. So you might want to, so other things you might want to do is if I'd actually put an ID field into books.txt, very easy, you just have like a 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever over here. It didn't save the line, or each time I open it, it's just adding that. Whoopsie. You know what? I know exactly what's going on. Sorry, I'll show you when I edit my book. I'm actually adding that blank line when I edit the GUI. I'll see if I can fix that in Book Manager. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, as I was saying, I could have added an ID onto books.txt, and then that would have. Then I could search by ID, and the idea is that the ID never changes, which means that, if I need to change the title, maybe I'd made a spelling mistake here, I'd done the quite geometry of rain or whatever, I can then update the title if I need to. But I'll see if, I'm going to change it to its own window anyway, which I'll show you live, well, coding live. Anyway, I've got this other static method. All of your methods need to be static, so that you don't need to instantiate your Book Manager class. Edit book with title, ascending the title, the author, the pages, and the hardcover. And then all I'm doing is, in this case, I'm just doing a search. And so I went looping through the whole array, and if the title matched the title I sent, then I just set the author to what the parameter was, the number of pages, and hardcover. So I just sent everything, because who knows what I've changed, or if I've changed multiple things. And then I'm calling this write to file. Now, write to file, you might think that what I do is I go through the file, I look for the correct line, and I change that file. It's actually quite tricky to change a text file. It's easy to add stuff to the end. It's easy to create one. It's easy to delete one. But seeing as I have the entire file in memory, and all I've done here is I've updated the array, I'm literally just going to overwrite the whole file. So I'm just creating a new file over here, looping through it, and then I'm just doing a println with the title, semicolon, author, semicolon, number of pages, semicolon, and then my hardcover. This is me printing it out just to test. I do not need to do that. Close the file. If you don't close the file, sometimes the writing doesn't work. And that's why I am getting an extra new line, because I've got this println here, so it adds a new line. So if I wanted to get rid of that, basically I want to, let's go to size -1. Okay, and then let's just put over here. That's not going to go to size -1. I'm going to I is less than size -1. It's actually going to go to I -2. So I'm going to do that. So I'll just say book R size -1. And I'm going to make this a print instead of a println. And this should get rid of the adding an extra line each time to my text file, which might be an issue. You know, if I've got that blank and then I write it a couple of times, I might end up writing a whole bunch of blank lines. That'd be irritating. Let's just see if this works now. Let's close books.txt. Let's run this. We were going to change this to Matthew Gill. Let's change the number of pages too, just so you can see we can change multiple things. I wrote it. I'm lazy. I needed 50 pages. Edit. Beautiful. We've got a little bit of a crash. That's what you always change things. String cannot be cast to an integer. Let's see what the problem is. Okay, so I think what happened when it went into the table, it's an integer. As soon as I changed it, it turns into a string. That is actually that is a pain. Especially because if I don't change it, it comes in as an int. Okay, so so if I do this, I'm going to show you. This is actually very cool, because I think I need two different types of code here. So I think what happens, so if I want to edit the number of pages, I need to do this whole parsing thing, because I changed it to a string integer. No, it is parsent. Object cannot be converted to string. Oh, this is very confusing, having to cast my object to a string and then parsing the string. Would not be surprised if this crashes. Okay, let's change the pages to, whoopsie. Oh, look at that. Change the number of pages to 50. Oh, one of the things you'd want to do when you're adding your own code is you'd want to put a sort in, so that if I click on the author file, you can sort the array by according to author, and then you'll sort everything there. I'll leave that up to you. Let's change, see if this crashes. Did not crash, that looks good. Let's run this. Okay, I've done that. Now I suspect this is going to crash. I'm leaving number of pages alone. It's gone in as an integer. This, by the way, is maybe it's a sign that you should just put everything as an integer, but whatever. Let's just change the author to Matthew. No middle name Gill. Right. Yeah, and there we go. So if this, I'm now getting this weird thing. If the user edits it, it needs to be this line of code. If the user doesn't edit it, it needs to be this line of code. And this is just int tbl books.get value at row, comma 2. And now, what I am going to do, in fact, is I'm going to create a whole new thing there where I don't run into this, but just to show you how you'd solve something like this. So essentially, I'm getting this class cast exception one way or the other, depending on what exactly the user does. I could either have a thing where I keep track of whether the field has been edited for the integer specifically, and if it hasn't, I what do you call it? If it hasn't, I call this line of code, and if it has, I use that one. But what I'm going to do, actually, I'm just going to try this. When I say try, I'm not saying see if it works. It's going to work. But I mean, do the try, and I'm going to catch this class cast exception. Let's just import that. EX. Now let's import that. Or not. Okay, it's default Java language. That's why I didn't need to import that. And I'm going to. So if I got an error with that, then it must be this one that I want. So now I think this will work. Yeah, let's try it out. So now let's run it. This, by the way, don't stress too much about this. Book.gui has got an issue over here. What are you complaining about? Num pages might not have been given anything, so let's just go. So giving a default value of -1. At least that way, if like it goes wrong, your user is going to know for a fact it's gone wrong. Rightio. Let's change the author. Let's go with Matt Gill. That's cool. Edit. All good. Matt Gill. Let's change the number of pages. 60. Edit. Looks good. So that was cool. Nice use of try catch there. But anyway, as I said, I'm going to come up with a better edit thing. So let's go to our main menu GUI. And what I'm going to do here, okay, so let's go to book GUI. I'm going to just get rid of the edit button. I'm just going to disable it for now, because I don't want to lose all the code. Oh my word. Properties, disabled is here somewhere. Oh, enabled. Just going to untick enabled. You can see it grades it out. You can actually do that in code, and then you could do that. So basically what, as I was saying earlier on, if the user was an admin, you could make sure the edit button is enabled. If the user isn't an admin, you just get rid of it. Okay. Right. And I'll do a different edit. I'm going to do an edit in a separate window. I am changing my mind. Let's re-enable this. What I'm going to do is when you click on the edit button, just make sure this is working. Cool. When, okay, look at that. Crashing because I didn't select a row. Again, you could just try and catch that error. And then, obviously if the user hasn't selected anything, I don't want to do anything. You'd always, if you're looking for an error, I didn't write the vector class, didn't write the default table model class, didn't write the JTable class, didn't write the book GUI class, click there, it's over here, get selected row was nothing. In fact, what I could do is, so where's my output? My index was -1. I don't even need to do a try catch. Literally all I'd need to do is I could check over here is if row is not equal to -1, do all of this. And if row is equal to -1, I don't care, I don't do anything. Let's try that again. Edit, doesn't crash. Click something, edit. Well, yeah, just check that the editing still works. You always do want to check your code. Edit. Beautiful. You would actually want some kind of pop-up there saying that something's been edited. Yeah, changed it. Okay, anyway, what I want to do is when I click on the edit button, it's actually going to launch a window. So let's go to my book GUI. let's go over here. I want to go to the model. I'm just going to untick editable so the user can't change any fields in the table. And you'll see now if I run this, can't change anything. So what I'm going to do now is when I click on a row and I click edit, it's going to open up a new window. Just for fun. You know what, I made an icon for it, but I was going to put it onto the main menu GUI, realized, but then how do I pick which book I want to edit? So let's, seeing as I made a, you know, well, I say made an icon, I use ChatGPT. Not in, it's in the images, and I want edit book. Okay, and I'd want to resize the icon. Is there an undo? There is, thank goodness. Okay, I could you know what, I'll just resize it quickly. No, I won't, I don't care enough. That's something you guys could do. Okay, so when I click on the edit button, what I want to happen now, and also, so I've got this code here that successfully, you know, gets the book edited. If you're ever replacing stuff, don't delete the code. Just comment it out for now, because you might forget how you did something, you know, and then later on when everything's working perfectly with new code, then you can delete the commented out code. But what I'm going to do now, let's create a GUI. JFrame. You definitely want to make sure you don't do a JPanel, otherwise you'll have to redo everything you did, because you won't be able to get the JPanel to work. Let's call it an edit book GUI. And then it's pretty straightforward. All I want is, you know, let's first off, let's do the default stuff. Let's generate center, and let's give it a title, edit book. You know, I might get a little bit fancy here. I'm going to want to send the book as a parameter, I think. Or the book type. No, I don't want to send the whole book. I can just send. I'm going to send the whole book. It makes sense to send the whole book. Or do what form is it in over here when I've got it? No, I'm going to send the values from the table instead of sending the book, because it's coming from the book GUI. It is. Yeah, I don't have the book. All I've got is the stuff in the array. So I want string title, then I want string author, int num pages, and then I want Boolean hardcover. Okay, and then string title, author, num pages. Okay, and I don't want to have these things have the same name, so I'll just call it in title, in author. Just otherwise, you know, otherwise, whoopsie. Otherwise, I'll push Shift Delete, by the way, to get rid of the whole line. Not that I want to do there. This way, if I give them different names, you know, it's easy to refer to them. Okay, and I'll say title equals in title, string original title. The reason for this is I'm going to allow the user to edit the title, but how do I find it in my text file or in my array? Because, you know, so I'm going to keep this original title just so I can search the array. I then change the array, and at that point I don't need to worry about it, but it does allow me to, this way I'll be able to edit the title. Title is also equal to in title, and then author is equal to in author. That's where I did want to just Shift Delete. I can't spell author. Num pages is equal to in num pages, and hardcover is equal to in hardcover. Cool. Right, so let's dump some components in here. So let's have a label. Title. I'm not going to make this look good. That's something you guys could do. Num pages. I will not be using a drop-down box for number of pages. But so if you're wondering, so what I did over there, you know, so if you look, as I move author around, I can move it left and right. That's basically saying, is it going to line up on the colon or on the left? I want it to line up on the left. And then if I move, there you can see when I moved title up, it had 3 of those dotted lines. So I'm now moving num pages there, so it's now lined up the same way. I'm going to make sure I put it on the left, so it lines up on the left, 3 dotted lines. It's the same height, and then I'll call this hardcover. Okay, and then I'm going to put text fields. And anyway, as I was saying, I'm not going to do drop-down box or anything for, I know that's just underlined everything, beautiful. Oh, I do not want to do that. Okay, I don't want to do JText field 1 action performed. I don't want to do anything when someone double clicks on JText field 1. So I'm going to right click, properties, events, and I'm just going to delete this, remove. Okay, radio. What I wanted to do was just edit the text. Not that it matters, we're going to be setting it at runtime. Let's dump another text field in here. I guess given that the text field is bigger than the labels, I might have put these things on and then would stay lined up nicely. Radio. Number of pages. Typing in a number, so using a spinner or something to select a number that's between like whatever, you know, like anywhere up to 1,000 or whatever is just a stupid idea. So great opportunity for you to put some data validation in there. You do need some for your pat. It's on the rubric. Edit the text. There we go. And again, you could put data validation in here for true and false. I'm not going to be doing that. That's something you guys need to know. Well, you guys know how to do. And then let's just have an edit button. I'd probably want to put a back button in case they decide they don't want to edit it. Again, that's something you can do. Radio. Cool. So I've now got this. So let's go to our source code. I don't care about that code. So I can say, oh, I didn't, you know, I didn't name it. So TXF title. Whoopsie. No, I don't want to edit the text. I want to change the variable name. TXF author. TXF num pages. TXF hardcover. Beautiful. Right, and so now I can say TXF and let's do the same thing for TXF num pages. This might complain about this being a integer. Yes, it is. Just do that. And then TXF hardcover dot set text in hardcover. And wait, is it coming in as a string hardcover? Nope. You know what? Let's make this come in as a string, and then we can change it to a boolean later on. Means I should really make this come in as a string. Which means I need to change this to a string. Okay. You know, I'm just going to keep this as an integer, just so you can see how to do it. Alrighty, so now let's just actually get this sent. So when I click on edit, what I want to do now is I'm going to create this new, What is this still complaining about? Oh, I added a whole bunch of parameters over here. Okay, integer, I don't know if it can be null, so just made it naught. There we go. Right, so what I want to happen over now is when I call this, so we're going to say int row is equal to tblbooks.get selected row. You can see I'm still using some of the code from above. I'm literally just copying. If it's reminded me here that I need this if statement, if row, for crying out loud, row is not equal to -1, I'm literally going to do all of that. Okay, and now instead of calling edit, I'm going to the edit field, I'm going to call this my so edit book GUI. Okay, you know what? Just I'm going to show you something else as well. I'm going to make my back button actually go back to the original window. I'll show you how to do that instead of creating a new one. So where should back be, on the left or on the right? I don't know. Wherever it goes, make sure you are consistent. So if I'm putting my back stuff on the left, make sure that where's on the left. This is btn back. Let's create btn edit. Okay, cool. And then I'm going to send a JFrame previous. And then over here, a JFrame previous, which means this should be in previous. Import it, all good, and then all I do is over here, previous is equal to in previous. Okay, might as well finish off the back while we're doing it. Book GUI, oh, I now need to, edit book GUI. Sorry, I'm not going to get distracted. Let's finish off back. What is this thing complaining? Oh, my parameters over here. Beautiful. All right, this is going to crash so hard if I ever run this thing directly. Don't do that. Alrighty, so let's make the back button work. As I said, back button is easy. All I want to do is this dot dispose and previous dot set visible true. So what I'm going to do now is when I open up the window, instead open up book GUI, instead of disposing this window, I'll just set it, make it invisible. You'll see what I mean in a second. So let's go edit book GUI, EBG equals new, edit book GUI. What is the previous frame? It's coming from this frame, so I'm going to send it this. Then the title, author, num pages, and then hardcover string. That should be good. I'll show you the back thing working. So if I do this, edit. All right, ebg.set visible true. This dot set visible false. So I'm going to hide this window instead of disposing it. So what this means, it's going to save the state. So if I was clicking on Introduction to Microeconomics, I'd want to adjust it so I could see the titles. And then I could click back. You can see it's literally going to be back in the exact state of everything that where I had it. If I scrolled down, so you can see, let's make it scrolled almost all the way down. Click edit, back. It's putting me in the exact same state it was. So that's kind of cool. Radio. Where was it? Oh yes, edit book GUI. Let's make the editing actually happen. Oh, wait, is it popping up the information? I didn't check that. Clara Beaumont. Beautiful, there we go. So I've got all my information. It's not lined up. Let's make it line up there again. There are different ways to line stuff up that you can Google. That did not work. One of the things you can do if you go to Navigator, there we go. is you can actually add over here, no, JFrame. You can add layout, and you can do what you call this is free design, you can do an absolute layout that won't resize very well, but stuff will stay exactly where you put it if you want to do that. Radio. Sorry, this is 40 minutes, won't be much longer. Editing. Oh, so when I double click on the edit button, all I want to do now is, let's go to my book manager. So I'm going to call string in original title, and then I should probably call this new title, refactor, rename in new title. When you refactor and rename, it automatically updates it everywhere it needs to go. Oh, except I didn't actually want to do that. So I want to search for the original title, because remember that won't have changed, but maybe the person has edited the title of it. So send it the original title, and then literally all I'm going to do is I'm going to update it with the new title, which might be the same, but if it has changed, then this will update it nicely. So now I can actually edit the title, which is cool. And then all I do over here is I think I can copy and paste. Not quite. Okay. So string. Oh, the nice thing, by the way, is that this is a text field that's definitely going to be a string. So I can literally just parse into the thing. Title equals txf title.getText. String author equals txf author.getAuthor. Let's move my mouse so you can see what's going on. You idiot, it's getText. Int num pages equals integer.parseInt. You'd want to put some validation in here. txf num pages dot get text, and then finally I'm gonna have to do this whole thing. String hardcover stir equals txf hardcover dot get text, and then if hardcover stir dot equals hardcover boolean hardcover equals false, and if hardcover stir equals hardcover, then hardcover equals true. I don't need to do else equals false, it's already false. And now I can just finally book manager dot edit book with title, original title. Oh yeah, that's the parameter, that is the field. Title, author, num pages, hardcover. Let's just check if this works. Log in, view my books, edit this thing, echoes along the felt. Oh, that's kind of cool. Echoes behind the felt, probably less cool, but let's just see that we can change everything. Let's make it Peter Erasmus instead of Peter Erasmus. Let's make it 198, and let's make it soft cover. Edit. Hopefully that's edited everything. Let's view the thing. Login. Echoes behind the felt. Peter Erasmus, 198 soft cover. Beautiful. I think the last thing I want to do is, probably once I've edited, got a couple of things you could do. I think maybe over here, you put a label and you say title edited successfully. The other thing you could do is you could close this window, and you could reload it with everything there. Let's do that just for fun. You need some way to give feedback. Another thing you could do, you could pop up a message box. That might get a little bit irritating. But let's... Okay, so after I finished clicking edit, then I'm going to go this.dispose, previous.set visible true, and oh wait, I was going to do something so when you go back it auto refreshes the table. I'd want some kind of listener to see when the thing gets made visible. Can I do that? Events, Windows state. Okay, you know what, let's add one, just print it out. See what happens over here. I suspect this is going to pop up when it's created, in which case it won't be useful. No. Okay, not helpful, so that is not doing anything. I'm just going to pause this for a second. Okay, so I can add a custom listener, but that's really beyond the scope of this video. Let's just kill that event. There we go. Remove it. What I'm going to do, I'm going to create a method. Public void refresh table. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is instead of in my, where's my edit book GUI? No, you idiot. Refresh table is going to come into book GUI. Okay, and what all refresh table is going to do is it's literally just going to reload the table. Shouldn't need to load books because I'm only going to call refresh table once I've loaded the books. It'd be safe to put it in there. So let's do that. We are editing the original array, so that's fine. Okay. I shouldn't have repetitive code, so over here refresh table. It's going to complain that I'm using this, I think. That is not the complaint I was expecting, and it's because it's an overridable method call. So if you really wondered about that, you could make the class final or make the method final. Yeah, why not? How do I make it final? That just means if I'm inherit from this class, I can't edit refresh table. Okay, there we go. So now I've called refresh table over there. Now I'm not repeating code, and I'm going to call refresh. And now I definitely need load books in here. So edit book GUI. What I'm going to do now, instead of sending it just a basic JFrame, I am going to send it a book GUI. So if I had a more general window that was coming in, it has to be a straightforward book GUI, and then I could cast it if I needed to, depending on where it came from. But now all I'm going to do is when I click edit, I'm going to go previous, before I call previous.set visible, previous.refresh. It's a JFrame over here, so let's make it a book GUI. Beautiful. Now I should be able to call my refresh. That was why I had to update it to a book GUI. Rightio. So now, if I do this, let's edit. Let's go back to Peter Erasmus. Beautiful, Peter Erasmus. Let's just make sure that's saved. My back button there doesn't do anything. Log in. Beautiful. Peter Erasmus. Awesome. There we go. Hopefully that's in fact, I know that's useful. Good luck.